Hello and welcome to RKD Group's fundraising refreshments, and we're delighted to see you today. A little bit before we start, these are bite-sized webinars, and bite-sized webinars like this will be around 20 minutes. Hopefully we can be a little bit under that, and that's intended so that you can squeeze them into your busy schedule. So another note, please leave us questions in the chat. I won't be monitoring it and interacting during this webinar, but we will follow up with you as soon as we can afterwards. And I hope you have your refreshment ready. I have mine from our friends at Phoenix Rescue Mission, who provided the mug, but not the coffee. So a little bit about myself. My name is Chris Weiland, and I'm a creative director here at RKD Group. I've been a creative guy for 16 years, and I have a really diverse professional background, all on the agency side. And I've helped both corporate and nonprofit clients tell more powerful stories that increase brand affinity and drive results. And today we're going to be discussing how you can craft captivating videos that engage your donors. So let's get started. You're probably here because you already understand this. Video is more important today than it ever has been before. 91% of videos, or of businesses use video for marketing today, and that's up from 61% in 2016. I don't imagine it will go anywhere but further up, but I know that that can be intimidating. There can be barriers to getting your feet wet and creating your first video for your nonprofit. The number one thing that people report is a lack of time. To my earlier point, I know that we have busy schedules, and recording video and capturing video and telling the story is very time intensive. I'm not going to misdirect you that it's really easy and simple. It takes some time, but I think ultimately the results are worth it, and what your donors and your prospects and your nonprofit experiences from it is definitely, the juice is worth the squeeze. So point two, 18% of people don't know where to start, and we're kind of going to help you hopefully find some first steps through this. This is a bit agnostic whether you haven't recorded a video before, whether maybe you've recorded a couple and found some stumbling blocks in there, but hopefully we'll give you some tips that are really helpful and you can apply right now to the next video that you're going to record. And the third is 10% of people think it's too expensive. And I know we see shiny, flashy, beautifully produced videos and we think, I don't have the budget for that. But don't let that impair your don't lose the opportunity to tell a great story through a video. And so this is kind of agnostic to budget. I will talk a little bit about quality, but quality isn't necessarily impaired by budget. Production polish is, but you can tell a fantastic story with a low budget if you do some planning on the front end. So let's start with what makes a bad video. I think we've all been subject to bad videos. The good news is if you don't make a good video, the algorithm will push it down, and so it probably won't cost you as much. But the number one thing is when people just wing it. I think a lot of folks think that you can just pull out your phone or get a fancy camera and walk through whatever the story is you're telling, and that it will inherently be good. And I think that barrier to entry has been exacerbated, or the thought that it's really easy has been exacerbated because we have filters on Instagram. It's never been easier to take really great photos using AI filters and things like that to make your photos better. Video is a little bit of a different animal. The second point is there's no obvious story and it just rambles. We've probably seen shows that we turned off or videos that we've turned off because we couldn't quite understand the point. It just felt like a talking head and somebody talking and rambling about something. And so some of the points we're going to go over will address that and how you can avoid it. The third point is unclear audio or video. And again, we're going to address this, but when you see really raw video that hasn't taken into account careful planning, sometimes it's difficult to hear the speaker or whatever they're trying to focus on. And the last, and maybe the most important is the video is boring or uninteresting. It's not relevant to the user, to the audience. So these are 5 tips for you to keep in mind as you plan for your video. The first is crafting a narrative for your video. A great way to think about this is the classic hero's journey format. Think about Star Wars. Luke Skywalker is a simple moisture farmer on a backwater planet and gets whisked away to an adventure to fight the Empire, to become a Jedi. And he arrives at this crisis point in his training. He has to face Darth Vader. He has to use the Force to shoot the torpedo down the tube and blow up the Death Star. And so you can think about that format when you're looking to tell your story. A crucial part of that, and a crucial part of how we apply the hero's journey format to fundraising and storytelling, is to make the viewer, the prospect, or the donor the hero and not your organization. And you're gonna have to fight that with every bone in your body. We all face it and struggle with it, but trust me, you'll reap results because of that, because it will be more interesting to your viewer. So start with the problem you're trying to solve. And this is particularly important if you're creating a video in the conversion layer of the sales funnel. You have to identify the problem. The second is talk through the crisis point and solutions that you're proposing. When we're solving the problem, we need to position how the donor can be the hero and jump in and solve that problem in a realistic fashion. And for poverty, we're not going to solve poverty overnight, but we can make a difference one person, one donor at a time. And the third, again, this is crucial because we're fundraisers, is to close with a call to action, to volunteer or donate. But ultimately, with our narrative, we want to move our viewer emotionally, to be it to think of our nonprofit in a new way, or to connect with Lisa and her family as they struggle to put food on the table. Next, plan your visual shots. Expectations have been raised and production value is becoming increasingly important. There's a recent survey by HubSpot that determined 36% of respondents said that production value was somewhat important, and 28% said it was very important. So 2/3 of respondents said quality matters to them. Consider the background to avoid visual noise. That's incredibly important because it'll help avoid distractions so the viewer can focus more on the story that you're telling. Keep the subjects in focus and in frame. You want the subject to be the focus so that there's no distracting elements, just like we mentioned. And it's okay to stage shots to get the right styling. Much like our phone cameras and filters have made it really easy to capture great photos. When you see any photo in a magazine or on the internet, I cut my teeth doing art direction for photo shoots for a major dining brand, and you would not believe the amount of attention that goes into every single thing in frame, and that's okay. Because what that helps is when the viewer's watching your video, they'll absorb it, but it won't be distracting. It'll go in and they'll process it and they'll focus in on your subject. But they won't consider the background being styled. It'll just look normal. And in a way, it'll kind of disappear for them. Fourth, test before you do the real recording. This is crucial. Consider your context, whether it is in a studio, in your facility, on a location. And that means scouting your location and walking through your shots in advance. You want to walk through everything that you're going to capture. Check your framing, consider where your camera is going to be, how the lighting is going to be, the time of day if you're shooting on location, whether you want to shoot in golden hour in the morning or at dusk in the evening to get that beautiful, perfect light, or whether maybe it's a appeal to help people during extremely hot weather and you want to do it right at noon when the sun is just beating down. So consider that, the timing that you're shooting, everything that'll be in shot, where your camera is going to be positioned, and map it out clearly. Next, continuing from that focus on quality, plan your audio as well. Don't forget about it. So use quality equipment, even for raw video. Quality equipment will help you better isolate your audio, and it'll help you avoid loud, distracting noises in the background. To get to that point too, loud, distracting noises in the background, you can tell the most powerful story, but if the viewer can't hear it over some distracting noise, it's completely wasted. So invest time in trying to get a little bit of isolation through equipment and through crafting the set and the path that you're going through to tell this story in video. Third, it can be challenging in live environments in video in the field. Sometimes when you're scouting, it's really important to stand in silence where you're going to be filming. What do you hear? How might what you hear affect your story, either positively or negatively? Next, put the right people on camera. Look for those people with a captivating personality. And that means we need to be objective when casting our talent. I know that sometimes we have favorites. We have somebody that we think is going to be fantastic on camera, who's going to be great, but that's not always the case. So we need to be objective with that. Find a really gregarious personality, somebody who has some gravitas in how they speak, that they speak clearly, and that goes into the second point. There are some people who are great in a room, but they struggle on camera. And that's okay. Stage fright is real, and some folks will feel it more than others. So don't be afraid to make a change when that happens. And third, that person that you're casting, the talent, we'll call them the talent, that's not always the person who knows the best. And this is a point that's twofold. Sometimes knowing the most can overcomplicate your message with excessive detail. And sometimes stories will feel more authentic or more approachable if they're told by someone serving in the trenches of your organization. And the last tip, again, this is maybe one of the most important things, is don't be boring. In a recent survey that I read, respondents said that 1 to 3 minutes is the ideal length for a marketing video. So just like in a fundraising letter or email, crafting a strong hook is essential. You only have a few minutes to capture attention. And that is especially true in video. We see it in paid display. Think about your carrier that you send in the email. When you send a carrier in a mail, when somebody is sorting their mail, what is it about that grabs their attention? Is it something on the outside of the carrier? Is it your brand mark in the corner and they just love you guys and so they want to open it to see what's inside? That ability to grab attention and to keep that attention is essential, and that comes through having a really strong hook. Second, don't assume that your audience is as interested in what you do as you are. We are passionate about what we do, but we're not trying to convey our passion necessarily to the viewer so much as we're trying to transfer it into the heart of our viewer, which leads me to our third point. Draw them in and create buy-in. Draw them into that story like we spoke about a moment ago, the hero's journey. Don't draw them in as an observer, but pull them in as a participant. Help them see their part in this story. Help them see themselves in the midst of this bigger story that they can join in and be a part of. That's their opportunity to see themselves as the hero, to see themselves as a solution. We know how crucial that is in fundraising, whether it's digital or video or in direct mail. We know that donor first language, you language, ensuring that the donor sees themselves as a part of the solution, that they know they can make a difference, that they see that opportunity to be a hero, is crucial in driving results. So similar to our second point, point 4, avoid talking about yourself, talk about the mission. We know that everybody likes to talk about themselves and to focus on themselves, and whether it's a big corporate company or a small nonprofit, it's the temptation that we all face. So focus more on the mission, because that's where the donor or the prospect, that's where they're going to find their place in that story, is believing in the mission. Communicate it with brevity and clarity, so that they see the vision for that and how their life can intertwine in that. It may start with just a simple donation, but ultimately the goal is for them to come on board and be a part of our tribe, to be part of our brand. And I know we don't like to talk about that in the nonprofit world, but you know, when you think about your organization and your brand, it's really not your logo. It's really how somebody feels when they see your logo, when they think about you. What do they think about your mission? And how does that align with their values? So consider these things when you're developing your talking points for your video. So a few key takeaways. Number one, video is now an essential part of marketing. I think we all feel this. That's why you're watching today. That's why you're considering getting your feet wet or improving the quality of videos that you produce. And there's no going back. I think I read a recent statistic that YouTube is actually the #1 place that video streaming content is consumed. So that's more than Netflix, that's more than Hulu, or streaming services for traditional broadcast media. It's a tremendous platform, and video is a tremendous opportunity to get in front of your donors and your audience. Point two, highly produced videos don't need to be, or I'm sorry, good videos don't need to be highly produced. And I know this feels contradictory to some of my earlier points, so let me explain. There's a difference between quality, having clear shots, having clear audio, and having a gripping, captivating story, and being highly produced, meaning having a high level of polish that may actually impede the fundraising goals of your video. So whether you have a smaller budget and it's more time and volunteering, or whether you have some amazing $1 million video budget that nobody ever has, especially in the modern era, it's important to consider that you can do small budget videos that are really good quality, and you can do high budget videos that aren't. So again, we got to plan these things out, get the right producer in the room. Point three, careful planning is the key to success. I hope if you take nothing else away from this presentation, plan out your videos. You'll find that that time that you invest before filming, it's never wasted. It's always time well spent, because you arrive at problems you didn't expect. It helps you be a lot more efficient when you're actually filming and capturing your live video. You'll have to do fewer takes, fewer cuts, all these things. So it's a great investment, and it bears results down the line. And fourth, have fun and enjoy. Learn as you go along. Again, whether this is your first time that you're looking to do a video or your 10th time, I'm sure you can look back if you've done 10 videos and see, oh my gosh, the first videos were so rough and we learned so much. And that's just a continual journey. So as you go through this process of creating video, enjoy the ride and learn voraciously. Take every opportunity to learn and grow through this process. So thank you for joining us today. We're really pleased you chose to take some time out of your day. I hope that I haven't been boring. I hope this has been interesting and useful for you. So please join us for our next fundraising refreshment on the topic of transforming your newsletters to be donor-centric. What we were talking about today, make your videos centered around the donor. And that will be with the brilliant and never boring Lisa Rossi, our Vice President of Client Success. That'll be on June 1st at 1:30 Central Time. For more information on upcoming fundraising and refreshment sessions and recording of all of our webinars, please go to rkdgroup.com/webinars, the URL you see on the screen. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you next time.